Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
China. Trump, they're meeting with President Xi. Let's listen in on this little clip here first.
And it feels very warm seeing you again because it's been many years. Since your re-election, we have spoken on the phone 3 times, exchanged several letters, and stayed in close contact. And our joint guidance, China-US relations have remained stable on the whole. Given our different national conditions, we do not always see eye to eye with each other. And it is normal for the 2 leading economies of the world to have frictions now and then. And in the face of winds, waves, and challenges, you and I, at the helm of China-US relations, should stay the right course and ensure the steady sailing forward of the giant ship of China-US relations. I always believe that China's development goes hand in hand with your vision to make America great again. Our 2 countries are fully able to help each other succeed and prosper together. Over the years, I have stated in public many times that China and the United States should be partners and friends. This is what history has taught us and what reality demands. A few days ago, in the latest round of consultation...
That's good. So, I mean, one of the things that I noticed, I don't know if you watched a lot of it, I watched most of it, that this is the first interaction I've seen with Trump where he doesn't seem to want to dominate, like with power. It seemed very much, he almost seemed a little bit, what's that word, not his usual self with President Xi.
Subdued. Maybe,
yeah, because, you know, because Xi was very stoic, like didn't say a word, they're standing there, and Trump is, you know, like patting him and, you know, like prodding him and, you know, like just stone-faced, right? Like just, it was different. It was different than his typical thing where he dominates the room, right? He wasn't trying to dominate the room in that case. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess he's, that's a show of respect, I suppose, or fear, perhaps, would be another way to look at it. Something that I thought was interesting, you can see Besant, Rubio, what's his name, Howard Lutnick there.
Lutnick's
so like
there.
the most powerful people in his cabinet, you know, these are like his ministers. But he's also got Susie Wiles there, who's just his chief of staff in the White House. But it just shows how powerful and important she really is, that she's there at the table.
Everywhere. She's almost everywhere there. But she'll, like if she's sitting at the table, lots of times she'll sit at the table and say they bring in like a Rubio or something. She'll get up and give her spot up at the table and stuff like that. But she is his right hand for sure. And
yeah, she's under scrutinized, perhaps understudied. Like she's clearly central to everything that he's doing.
She wants no attention, and she's and again, people accuse Trump of being anti-woman, and the first female chief of staff, and obviously lots of power. I mean, everybody says that she carries, like she's one of like Abe Lincoln, walks softly, carries a big stick. But
no, that was Teddy Roosevelt, wasn't it?
Oh, there you go. I got my presidents wrong, but hey, I got the quote right. Yeah. Stockwell Day, remember Stockwell Day? He took a run at it too. The Sea-Doo guy with the right here on the Okanagan Lake there, stood there with his when he was running for PM. But he says his contacts tell him a deal was done. U.S. reduces tariffs on China from 57 to 47. China lets a minerals deal go for China for U.S. for a year. And they're going to deal with these precursors. Well, that remains to be seen, right? And Trump did.
They've been saying that for so long now.
I watched the interview on Air Force One, and it was a bumpy ride. They were in turbulence. And Trump said out of 10, the meeting was a 12. I always say to people when they 110%, I just don't know how, like when you're playing sports, how do you give 110%? Is 100% everything? But apparently there's bigger number somewhere.
Give something to someone else as well, I guess. That could be the only option.
Yeah, and then there's Scott Bassett there, and he said Trump. I mean, it sounded like, like they got Xi to agree to buy 12 million metric tons of American soybeans this season, and they're going to be buying a minimum of 25 metric tons per annum. So, again, China says a lot of things, and China says they were going to do climate change too. They didn't do any of that. But it'll be interesting.
And also this thing, the key here is the minerals, the rare earth metals, because that was a threat. Like China put its boot on the American throat there in a really in a massive way that threatened everything in America, the American military, the American economy,
AI,
everything.
Right? AI.
Yeah, but that just shows you how real these negotiations, if you want to call it that shows how real they were. That's how big a deal it really was. But what's interesting is it's a 1-year reprieve. A 1 year. 1 year, that's not long enough to make anybody happy, really, is it? So this is going to be revisited, I think, is the obvious takeaway.
If you look at the what's coming out of the Liberal government, instead of, because we have vast mineral resources here in Canada, vast mineral resources, and some of the best miners. Why aren't we announcing this project going ahead? Why aren't we announcing a refining plant? Why aren't we, you know what I mean? Why aren't we announcing any of that? Instead, Tim Hodgson is standing up there talking about, the last couple of announcements have been about carbon capture.
Because the Liberal Party would not survive in power if it did that. Because a core part of its constituency, the environmental group, coalition, whatever, would defect. They'd go to the Green Party or the NDP or whoever, and the Liberals would lose funding and lose votes and lose the next election. So they won't do that, even though it is quite literally life or death. These metals have to be refined in safe countries. They have to. If we wish to survive, if we want Western civilization to survive, we have to refine these minerals in a very dirty, polluting practice. We have to do it. But we're not going to do it in Canada because that would threaten the Liberal Party. End of story. When
I interviewed Brenda Bailey, the finance minister of Canada, I gave her the example of Trilogy Metals, a Canadian company that's in Alaska that the Americans invested, the Department of War invested 10% into them, gave them a bunch of money, and told them they're going to build them a road. And they want that project fast-tracked, and that's rare earth minerals. And I said, Brenda Bailey, are you going to do that here in Canada? She said, yes. I haven't heard any announcements.
Maybe she's working on it. Give her time.
I mean, you'd think Scott Bassett and them would have had a plan for all this stuff. You'd think, right? You would think. What would I know, though, right?
What would us mere peasants? How dare we even have an opinion, frankly? But what's awkward, though, is considering we are such worthless peasants, sometimes we seem to get things right, while our glorious nobles and masters and superiors get things wrong again and again and again and again.
No, I didn't say, I said finance minister of BC, but then I think I mixed up Canada. Somebody just corrected me, texted me, I don't know, finance minister. Yeah, she's Brenda Bailey's finance minister of British Columbia, if I misspoke there. Trump signed a deal with South Korea, $350 billion, and lowered the tariffs charged against the United States, and they're going to buy oil and gas in vast quantities. Again, who asked Canada for LNG? Who was that? Oh, right, the South Koreans. I remember that. Remember? Mark Carney was the economic advisor at the time to Trudeau, and they told them, no business case for LNG. Trump says all the time, you're going to get tired of winning. Well, we say on this show, you're going to get tired of us being right.
Well, I don't know if I assume you've read the rest of this tweet already, but that is also quite relevant to what we discuss a lot, isn't it? Where he's saying, I've given the South Koreans approval to build a nuclear submarine rather than the old-fashioned and far less nimble diesel-powered submarines, which they want to build for us.
Canada puts up its hand, we'll take whatever you got left, because you can't use them. Because we know, like, again, for everybody listening or watching, just on ChatGPT, just type it in. Just type it in. Nuclear sub versus diesel sub. The only reason to buy diesel sub is cheaper. You know what else is cheaper? A rowboat. Why not save all that money and maybe do some research studies instead?
Or even submarine, like unmanned submarines, like underwater drones. You're better off doing something like that rather than wasting your money on out-of-date technology, surely. But I just think they've set themselves this target, haven't they? They've got to spend a certain amount of GDP. I think there's always a risk with that, isn't there? Where you just end up throwing money at anything just to spend the money.
Where I was going to do, we're not going to do the Joe Kernan story because that's kind of boring. They're just talking about the government shutdown. But here's a little clip for you. Winston Churchill. You remember this speech, I'm sure, as a good Brit would. Let's listen in on this speech here.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills.
Remember that speech?
I remember that speech. I also remember that music from Red Alert 2, the computer game.
And then this is
pretty hilarious that they put that in the background. But yeah, that's quite a consequential speech that he made. Yeah.
This is Birmingham. Somebody did a walk and talk here in Birmingham. Maybe you can explain it. I don't even know where Birmingham is. It's the largest city in the UK, second largest city in the UK.
Birmingham, you often go on about Detroit and how wealthy Detroit was.
This one?
To see for myself. And these are some of the filthiest streets in the country. People should not have to live like this. The people who are doing this are getting away with it, and the council seems to be doing absolutely nothing. If you think this is bad, wait till you see what happened around the corner the other day.
Filth piled high on a residential street and left there for days on end. This is how some people are living in parts of Britain today. This vandalism of our streets can't continue.
This is the scene of that fly tipping. Months later, it still looks like a complete disgrace. It's literally got so bad that there's tyres, dirty underwear lying on the street, and the Labour Council is doing nothing about it.
Fly tipping and littering is rife in Birmingham. Good, law-abiding Brits are furious that their streets...
That's good.
Yeah, that's Robert Jenrick. We should say, he's Conservative Party MP. So the opposition. Birmingham, like you mentioned Detroit a lot about how it used to be really important and wealthy and all the rest of it. The same is true of Birmingham. It used to be considered just about like the richest big city on earth back in the day. Not even that long ago, really, like half a century or 80 years, something like that, back during the imperial days. Like loads of guns, weapons were made there. It was considered like the armory of the British Empire. But I mean, it did a lot more than that, like metals and things like that. It was a really significant city, but it's kind of like so many other industrial cities in England. It just kind of lost its purpose in the second half of the 20th century, and now it's like what do they call it? Majority minority or something like that. They're like white British, like native British people are a minority in Birmingham. It's one of a few parts of England that have that characteristic, and as a consequence, it's becoming like the center of a kind of political debate about what's happened to England, really, and the future of England and migration and things like that. So it's kind of like it's a front on the battlefield right now.
And then Vladimir Putin invited journalists into to Moscow there, and then they wanted to show them what was going on. They've encircled a few Ukrainian troops, and they're playing a really terrible game. But we're just going to play this clip here from NBC.
I'm in Moscow, Russia in October 2025, and this is an exhibition of war trophies taken from the front line in Ukraine. An Abrams tank, again, another piece of US equipment. Inside the Bradley, it is burnt out. You shudder to think of the experience the Ukrainian soldiers would have had. Throughout the time that we've been here, classrooms of Russian children have been enjoying tours of this war museum, including this exhibition dedicated to North Korea's contribution. The war in Ukraine is becoming embedded in the...
Good. Obviously, Putin is running some type of PR campaign to put pressure on inviting journalists in for, I think it must be the first time, inviting them in to look. And they've got some videos also, I don't think I put it in here, videos also of the encircled, a couple of troop movements in, or a couple of areas in Ukraine where they're almost completely encircled, and asking, you know, like the media to determine what should happen to those troops in there.
Sick, frankly. But no, they've been doing this for a while, and that journalist there was in Moscow. Journalists have, some publications have been kicked out. I think the Washington Post was kicked out when they out of Russia, and some other ones. But there are still Western journalists in Russia, like Steve Rosenberg at the BBC. He's been reporting on these trophies that are displayed of the tanks and stuff. He's been reporting on that for ages. So that's not a new thing. At least, I mean, that might be a new exhibition, but the idea isn't.
Well, they are ramping up a PR campaign for sure, because here's Lavrov too. It says, and this is October 28th, no interest in empty symbolism. They said that they had a deal. They said that Putin and Trump had a deal, that they agreed on things, but now they're saying, well, let's get on with the deal. And I think, you know, like on that deal, it's Zelensky obviously didn't agree to the deal, or I'm not sure, you know what I mean? Like, so.
I think even the Americans weren't willing to tolerate the demands from the Russians. I think that's when Trump started to change his tune, because they're starting to demand territory that they don't even have. Like they haven't even conquered, but they're demanding it. And I think that's driving even the Americans not happy about that.
Here's somebody making fun of Putin's war in Ukraine. Let's take a look at this. But it's actually France that they show here. And again, this is in Europe. Like it's... Yeah, you can kill the music, but like... There you go. I mean, that's... Yeah, you could do that in Canada as well.
I mean, the banlieues in Paris, I don't know if you've been yourself, but if you go on that train, the really deep underground, and it goes out into the suburbs, just go to Paris and get on that train and prepare for madness. But there are even parts of Paris that it's quite central and it's so rough, like the Pantheon, where they've got Napoleon's tomb or whatever it is. Places like that, like so many rough parts of Paris. It's really quite devastating, actually. But it's nothing new.
The King's son and Yoko Ono were at the Dodgers game there, at the World's. Oh no, not they were at the LA and Dodgers and Blue Jays game, and the King's son, the head of our country, Harry, not buying in. He's wearing an LA Dodgers hat.
What's he doing? He's such a. I'm gonna. How do I say this? What's the PG word? I'm looking for? He's such a pillock. He really is such a pillock. That's what I'm going to say. What a fool.
Well, I
suppose he does live in that neighborhood. He does live in like the LA area, but obviously still, he has a constitutional role in the monarchy of Canada. Put a Blue Jays cap on.
But he also lives with Yoko Ono. Or is that Yoko Ono or is that Meghan Markle? I'm not sure. Which one is it? I don't know.
I think Yoko was a lot more talented than her. Yoko's screams on a xylophone, probably.
And the Sudan civil war increasingly being labeled as a genocide amid news of yet more atrocities. The ongoing civil war reports of some really Awful things. One NGO, Protection Approaches, said there is a deliberate strategy to destroy and displace by rapid security forces groups which emerged from the Janjaweed Arab militias that massacred hundreds of thousands of non-Arabs in Darfur in the 2000s.
Yeah, but I mean, this has been, like, as explained there, this has been going on ages in this neck of the woods. Darfur, it's the same place. We heard so much about, or we heard a little bit about Darfur, didn't we, back in the day, but it seems to have just gone, it's like back of mind now. It's so sad. And it's traumatizing people who are seeing that, because they're putting videos on the internet of just the most disgusting crimes against humanity. And I think, like, there are people out there that must have, like, PTSD from watching that stuff.
I remember Justin Trudeau saying in Canada that the media treat him well because he gave them $660 million. I mean, that's not a lie. I mean, he gives them a lot more than that as well. And it seems like the Democrats and the Liberals have gotten a free ride from much of the media as well. But now there's some media outlets pushing back. And here's an interview that Kamala Harris, I watched it, and she just lost her cool when she was being pressed for answers, right? Because she was just doing her word salad stuff, and the reporter said, "That's not the question. That's not the question." Let's listen into what she has to say here.
I want to come back to the book and the purpose of the book. So
this is the last question. We're at time. You gotta go. Sorry.
Yep. Well, that's almost a first, not an absolute first, but to have a member of staff of the former Vice President of the United States actually speak up during the interview to say that we were going too long. I didn't expect that. But coming back to the interview itself, it seems to me at its very heart, there is a reluctance on the part of Kamala Harris to actually spell out and talk about the issues that Joe Biden had as president. Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties. We all saw the debate. I'm just wondering, is there a reason why you won't go to that prolonged frailty question? Now, we saw the debate. We saw the difficulty he had marshalling his thoughts.
I have answered that question. I do not believe
I think it's just hard watching the debate to see how there could not be a problem long term with someone who can't marshal their thoughts. I'm not saying his acuity wasn't present.
I talked about that in the book.
It's in the book, but it seems to me she doesn't want to say it on camera. I asked her that. She denied it, but I think there is still a reluctance there to criticize Joe Biden, which makes her current pivot a really difficult one because she's Joe Biden's vice president. It seems she's still not prepared to completely condemn him, but she's got to be a character in her own right without Joe Biden attached in order to have a chance to run again. So that, before I came in, that was the heart of the interview, and it turned out to be the heart of the interview.
I watched the interview, and what I did get out of Kamala Harris is typically just word salads. She got pretty agitated there. But one thing for sure, and it is very clear for Kamala Harris, is she knows how to hawk a book. Because every time you ask, it's in the book. It's in the book. It's in the book.
But she knows as well how to be passive-aggressive.
She should have held up the book and said, "It's only $19.99. It's in the book."
Yeah. But the aggression, I mean, I said passive aggression. It was basically just aggression. And those horrible, horrible little media people, absolute slime balls that they are, just trying to interfere constantly. Messing around with an interview. It's just loathsome.
They feel that they should have. I mean, they were getting just a pass. Like, how many times did like Fox call out Peter Doocy call out Joe Biden, and not one in the room of like 400 journalists, Peter Doocy alone would call out Joe Biden's cognitive ability, who never showed up at the podium, and Karine Jean-Pierre would just play identity cards all the time.
When he used to do that, Peter Doocy, when he used to stand up in the White House press room, it was like, sometimes I almost felt a bit scared for him. I always thought he was going to get like stabbed in the back or something. There was just open hostility, wasn't there? And there was like muttering and like, this guy. It was like, and then the Karine Jean-Pierre would always just like lay into him, like just ad hominem.
Did Joe Biden, under his breath, which was picked up by the mic, didn't he call him an F and B? Something he called him. I can't remember the exact.
And that's purely because he was like the only or one of the only anyway journalists that were following around the president that was willing to be a little bit kind of adversarial, a little bit tough.
And then I don't know if you put it out on your X yet. That here's some journalists, I think, still putting out there. You know, like I mean. You should put that out, no?
I would definitely, I definitely put my arm out for a flu shot, even though is there any point for that? I don't know if there's any point. But I was kind of got burned with the COVID shot because it just wrecked my week. Both times I was like, ugh, I don't want that. I don't want to feel ill for that long after having a vaccine. But the flu shot, yeah.
This is our little bit of a meme section there. So sorry, David. We just just that you put it out there. I thought we just put it up here for you and just help you. But Justin Trudeau apparently has ties to the CBC.
It's a very bold style, isn't it? T-shirt and jacket.
He's actually he's actually morphing into the CBC. Yeah,
it's the last organization that respects him.
This is we'll close off with this. This is Thursday. Tomorrow's Halloween. What do you think Iain should wear for a costume, or myself? Maybe we should dress up like the CBC. You can do your hair like that. You're pretty close anyway, right?
And what can I need to find a Liberal Party jacket or something. That one that Trudeau had, which is like the sports jacket. That's what I need.
I think we should both dress like Don Cherry, that super high collar. Bring Don Cherry back. I think some people might think we're Don Cherry anyway.
He was voted Canada's, what was it, fourth or fifth greatest Canadian or something like that.
Bill Gates has called in to the COP30. He's mailed in his comments to COP30. I don't think he's going to COP30, but he's actually called into COP30. We're going to play his call into COP30 here. Can you get his call? Because Bill is...
Yeah, listen. We fucked up. Yeah, listen. We fucked up.
So Bill is mailing in his comments to COP30 instead of doing the long speech about killing all the cows and selling you synthetic meat and bugs. Wasn't it Justin Trudeau on these bugs too?
And I've got no idea. I do remember there was some kind of bug story, wasn't there? I can't actually remember the details of that one.
He did say you shouldn't worry about your rent or the ability to buy food. There's much bigger challenges out there. And climate.
The revolution is more important, basically.
Right. And now basically the CBC and them are calling him a pop star as he flits around the world with none other than the famous astronaut Katy Perry, who what did she do on stage the other day? She milked her what do they call those? What's the politically correct word for that?
Udges.
Like she milked those. Men, not man, did that and Justin.
Non-cis male upper private region.
We haven't heard from somebody said cancel Disney and eat crickets. We haven't heard from our friend Chrystia Friedland. We should invite her in on the show. You think she'll come? She's a fan of the show.
Well, all if you do is say it right now. She's listening, so
call
get on in.
You could. We'll just give you the third frame over there, and you can.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, we mailed in your comments for COP30. Thanks for everything you've done to the world, Bill. And you still make crappy software too, Microsoft. I've never liked Microsoft.
I tell you what, I was thinking about this the other day. All this chatter about how Elon Musk, he's only got where he is because of subsidies and government contracts and things. Has there ever been a company more indebted to the public sector, let's say, government money than Microsoft? The only place you find Windows these days is in banks, like government offices, isn't it?
Schools, just infiltrated. I can remember I was a Windows NT administrator when somebody's going to say something about that probably. I was a Windows NT guy way back then, and I installed some systems. And I can remember at a conference that you go there and they're just like, we kept this Windows NT system up for a week. And there'd be guys there with Linux and saying, or Unix, and they're saying like, ours has been running for years. And you're bragging about a week. Because it was always like the reboot of the system, right? It would just hang up. It's just absolutely crazy. If you like our show, please share and get it out there. We want to try to increase our audience. It is getting bigger, so the more you can do. The Bill C-18 continues to crush local independent media. We need independent voices here in Canada. That's what a real democracy is. And if you could help us share it, that would be great. We have a little bit of fun here too. It's independent media and unfiltered. It's Iain Burns and myself every Monday morning. Every weekday morning at 9 a.m., but you can watch it and you can share, and we cut it up into different segments and stuff like that too. You can find us little clips on TikTok as well. We're on TikTok under Now Media as well, and X and all that other cool stuff.
Chinese propaganda website.
Website there. China. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Carney's meeting with President Xi. Will he cut, or will he pull back the EV tariffs, and will canola be able to be shipped? I mean, Scott Moe would be happier than whatever, a pig somewhere out there.
It's hard to do a PG version of that, isn't it?
Anyway, all right. Until tomorrow. I think I have the food bank in later today, but and then I have the Bitcoin show too. Bitcoin, and food bank, record usage. Imagine that. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.